As parents, we want to protect our kids. It's a natural God-given instinct. We want to protect them. And there are many things in this world that we want to protect them from. But one of the things that has had more light shed on it in the past few months than anything before is the world's goal to sexualize our children. Exposure to pornography, child online predators, and grooming techniques have come to light in so many ways that I know has shaken a lot of parents at their core. They want to know, how can they protect their kids? How can they keep this from happening to them? And I want to tell you, when it comes to online issues, protecting our kids online, I feel like there is one specific topic that is not being covered, and one critical mistake that's being made as parents when we are trying to protect our kids. And we're going to talk about that mistake and what you can do about it here in this video. So let's get started. When it comes to protecting our kids online, I think most parents' first thought is to go towards preventing the opportunity for those things to happen. And this is really important. I am not trying to say that you should throw out the prevention techniques. Some of the prevention techniques that you may be using in your home, or that I would highly recommend using in your home, is limiting the amount of screen time that your kids have. Some parents eliminate it altogether and don't have that option in their home. Having good internet filters on your computer, or at least child safety settings for your devices, so that you know that your children have one level of protection there. Also, making sure that there's accountability. We do this, we have all of our computer devices, tablets, things like that, stay in family areas, open areas, no closed doors, and we highly encourage, but don't require, having a sibling or a parent or someone else in the same room or even right next to you as you are going online, whether that's for school research or playing a game online or something like that, just to give that level of accountability. These prevention techniques are critical. These things are great. And if you do not have a plan like this and tools in place like this, I would highly encourage you to set that in place today. But what is missing from this process? What is that one piece? We're trying to prevent it, but what about when we can't? Did you know that 1 in 10 kids under the age of 10 have already been exposed to pornography? 1 in 10 under 10. My personal first exposure to pornography was at age 5. And I grew up in a strong, godly homeschool family where all of these prevention techniques were being put into place. Very rarely when children are exposed to pornography is it that they seek it out themselves when it comes to those younger years. But there are friends, there are billboards, there are TV shows, commercials, online pop-ups that come on. Your kids don't have to go looking for it to find it. And just because you shut down your house from all electronics doesn't mean that they won't have access to it. My actual personal first exposure had nothing to do with actually seeing pornography, and instead was a friend who had been exposed to her brother watching it and telling me in great, gruesome detail all of the things that had been seen. So it doesn't even have to be some scene to be stuck in your head and to affect your children. And we want to protect our children's hearts and minds above all else. I am not trying to scare you, but I am trying to open your eyes to the very serious problem that is pornography. The world is coming after you and after your kids, and we have to be aware. We have to open our eyes to this situation. And so today I want to show you guys a tool that we're using to talk about how to equip your kids for these scenarios. We can do this in a way that does not need to strip their innocence or expose them to inappropriate content just through the conversations that we are having with our kids, but we can give them the knowledge and the know-how of what to do when these scenarios happen. A resource that we have found very, very helpful in our family is these books done by Protecting Young Minds called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. They have an older child edition as well as a junior edition that is designed for talking about this topic in age-appropriate ways with a lot of care taken into how the topic is addressed, but not being afraid to call it what it is. So let's take a peek inside real fast. I'm going to show you guys some of the methods that I really appreciate about these books and why I think that it might be worth the investment to look into something like this and have these conversations with our kids. All right, so these two books, like I said, are great tools for this very topic. The Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior book is designed for 3 to 6 year olds, and that may sound really young, but like I said, it is never too early to start this conversation. What I appreciate about this book is that it is story format, right? It's simple and easy, and it talks about how wonderful pictures are and how they can be good as a mother is talking to her daughter and looking through old photo albums, but how some pictures can be bad. And this is really, really important just to introduce this concept to your kids, that not all pictures are designed equally, but there is good and beauty in it. What I love about this book is as it addresses the topic, you'll see these post-it notes throughout it. These post-it notes are to encourage further discussion on the topic with your child. They also, some of them have content that's a little bit more strong, like this one. Grown-ups use a big word for bad pictures called pornography. You may not feel comfortable using that wording with your children at this age, and that's okay. They actually put it in a post-it note version so you can easily cover it up and not read it. Just skip right over it as you're reading the story, and you will still be able to understand and get just as much goodness out of the book without going that far with it. And so I think it's really, really important to know that this can be adapted to your level of comfort. If you do not read the post-it notes, you will not see any words like that, but you will see things in this book that talk about what is pornography without calling it that, if you choose not to use the post-it notes, talking about how it's like poison to our brain and how we want to protect our kids from it. And it even has a 5-step plan that is super helpful in teaching your kids exactly what to do if they're exposed. They go through step by step with all of this and explain to you how you can help your kids. What I love about this book is that in the back, they have a note to parents and caregivers, and they help you know, how do you respond? Not how do your kids respond, how do you respond? And they want you to practice the phrase, "Thank you for telling me you did the right thing." We need to assure our kids when they tell us these things, when they tell us of maybe an inappropriate conversation that's happened, of anything really, that we respond in a calm, cool manner. And that when we ask questions, we go for soft, gentle questions, not an interrogation. And so they have examples of all of those questions. It has what to do, how to help your child forget bad pictures they've seen. For the older ages, you can get the Good Pictures, Bad Pictures original book. And this is really designed, you can use it many different ways, but it is really designed to be used kind of in sections. It is broken up into chapters. Each chapter consists of about 1.5, 2 pages. So nothing too long or extensive. And then they have discussion questions after each chapter. So here you'll see the topics. What is pornography? What's an addiction? My feeling brain, my thinking brain, my two brains working together, my brain's attraction center, how pornography tricks the brain into an addiction, my thinking brain can-do plan. This is the actual action steps that will help your child in these situations. I can escape the poison of pornography, glossary of terms, which is very helpful. And again, that parent's guide, more tips for parents and caregivers and more tools to protect your children. So I really, really appreciate this. I want to show you what the level of chapter is, right? Or how long a chapter is. You've got 1, 2, I think this is probably one of the longest chapters. It is the longest chapter that just kind of starts out with the baseline. But then they have these let's talk sections. So you could definitely do this several sections at a time, or potentially all in one setting, although I would encourage, our personal goal in our family is that these conversations are ongoing conversations, not a one and done. So I love the fact that it's broken up into sections so that you can naturally bring it up multiple times. It also goes through what's an addiction and talking through those issues. But see, this is more of a typical chapter, half page, 2 pages. All right, it goes through your feeling brain, and I really appreciate the way they handle it. They explain that there are 2 parts of your brain. There's your feeling brain and your thinking brain. And this is so important. I love how it's more scientific. It helps your children understand things in a very age-appropriate way. But they talk about how your thinking brain is a muscle that needs to be practiced, right? Every time we make a good decision, a right decision, it gets stronger. And when we are exposed to pornography, our feeling brain can be triggered before our thinking brain is strong enough to take control. And this can be really hard. It's like they say, it's like driving a car without brakes. And we really have to be careful with it. And we have to make sure that we work hard in strengthening our thinking brain muscles so that they can be in control. They can work together beautifully. And they use the illustration of like an ice cream truck. It's a hot summer day and you see an ice cream truck and you really want ice cream. And your feeling brain tells you you want that ice cream. You're hungry and you're hot and you want that ice cream. Not a bad instinct. Your thinking brain's going to come in and say, yes, we can go across the street and get that ice cream, but we need to stop and look both ways before we go to protect ourselves. All right. So these need to work in conjunction together. It's not that your feeling brain is bad and your thinking brain is good. They need each other. And God's perfect design is that they work together. But we need to make sure that we are protecting our brain and that our feeling brain is not getting out of control or being triggered to feel or see or sense things that it's not ready for. And so I just love the way that they approach all of this. I think they do a really great job in giving very practical steps on how to address this with your kids, that they need to tell somebody, they need to name it for what it is. These are just a few of the things that they say, but they actually have practical steps of what happens if you're exposed to it in that moment. How do you do it? Do you close down the browser? Do you shut off the computer? Like, they go very, very, very specific for your kids with, again, in a very age appropriate way. This is actually designed where you could totally 100% go through this entire book and have not had the talk with your kids yet, and not having had talk with them about sex or opening up a huge can of worms if you're not ready to go there yet. Although I have my own thoughts about that. I would encourage you to go there sooner than later. However, if you don't feel like your child is ready for that, you can still talk about this book. You can still discuss this thing. They do use the word pornography in here, and you cannot skip it, unlike the children's version. If you're not ready to use that, I would consider just the junior version. But this one, they do use pornography, and they do encourage using that terminology and calling it what it is, because it loses its power. Satan loses its power when we call things what they are, when we expose them for what they are. And but they do it in a very, very, very appropriate way. So these books are going to help empower kids, give them actionable steps that they can take in this instant. Just like we do with fire safety, we teach our kids where to go. We do prevent fires for sure, but we teach them where to go if there was a fire, who to call, if their clothes were to catch fire, they should stop, drop, and roll. We teach them these actionable steps so that in a crisis situation, we all hope and pray this never is something our children need to use, but it is basic 101 that we prepare our kids in this way for these emergency type situations so that there is no thinking needed. They just know exactly what to do next. And it is the same scenario here. This can be so much more damaging than a fire. And yet we oftentimes only focus on preventing the fire or the emergency and not giving them the plan of what to do in that scenario. So this is going to help them feel empowered. They're going to have that plan, they're going to have that action, and they'll be assured in that. This is also going to help you as a parent become more comfortable in this conversation. I really appreciate the tips and the guides that I've gotten through their email list. If you guys are not quite ready to jump into getting your copy of this book, and no, this is not a paid advertisement. This is just something I'm really, really passionate about and a resource that I found really helpful for you guys. And that's what I'm dedicated to showing with you guys here on this channel, is resources that can help you in your Christian parenting and in your homeschooling. Okay, but if you're not ready to jump in and get this, sign up for their email list. They send emails with a lot of great information, training parents for these kinds of scenarios. And then the last thing that this is going to do is it's going to explain things scientifically to your children. It's going to help them understand the long-term effects of how the pornography actually can affect their brain, how it makes parts of their brain triggered that should not be triggered yet, how it can be an unhealthy addiction, how to overcome these addictions. This is a really great introduction for doing all of those things. Protect Young Minds is also coming out with an online course. I have not used it personally, but I hope to be able to use it, that is designed for helping your kids with these issues, right? For talking through responsible social media usage and thinking through what to post on social media and things like that. That's geared more towards middle school, high school age. And I'm really excited to check this out more. If I do check it out, I will for sure make a video for you guys. But it's a video course designed to help bridge a lot of these conversations with your kids, which I think is so, so important. Thank you guys for sticking with me. I know this is not a fun topic, but I think it is something that we have to address, and I feel really passionately about that. I also want to say I would love if you guys would check out some of our other videos. We have a lot of videos coming up that I am really pumped about. Things like on Saturday, we're going to be talking about fine motor skills that you can use with your preschoolers and tots that you can work with them on. And on Wednesday, we're going to be talking about some of our fall favorite educational activities. And I'm excited to share with you more about that as well. So we're here to talk about those mundane moments and the practical advice for real life, right? For real homeschooling life. We want to share those things with you. And I hope that you guys will stick around, that you will click the subscription button and let me know if this has been helpful. And we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.